Featured information and updates, reporting it as it is here on the right corner YouTube channel. What is happening in and outside Zimbabwe, you find all those updates here on the right corner, so please subscribe. Getting into business straight, we are looking at Max Lyon, who posted on his X account yesterday that they are different faces of the ANC, a political party in South Africa. Max Lyon wrote, "The different faces of ANC. When you think of ANC, you think of Nelson Mandela, Walter Sisulu, Oliver Tambo, Steve Biko, and Chris Hani. You think of giants who fought against apartheid. You think of icons who put their lives on the line in pursuit of freedom for their people. You think of these great names of the heavy price they paid. You think of them for the courage they showed against a challenge that seemed unsurmountable. They hoped against hope that they would bring an end to a political system that derived its constitutional provisions from the blast furnace of hell. They were under no illusions that death was highly likely. Steve Biko was beaten to death in prison. Chris Hani was shot outside his house. They were fully aware that there was a realistic prospect that their lives would end in horrible circumstances. When facing the death penalty in a complex trial, Nelson Mandela submitted a speech that ended with the following words: "During my lifetime, I have dedicated myself to this struggle of the African people. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." He escaped the death penalty and spent 27 years in prison. That is how vile apartheid was. These leaders sacrificed their lives for one man, one vote, equality, democracy, human rights, and rule of law. They sacrificed their lives so that people could choose their leaders, government, and the choice to get on with their lives as they please. They are all Africa's finest. The new ANC. There is a modern element of the ANC that seems to embody values and ethos that seems different from their previous leaders. It is such a contrast and a surprise to see some of their current leaders make decisions that are contrary to the principles on which their party was founded upon, especially in the administration of regional politics. In 2008, Robert Mugabe got 23% of the votes and Morgan Tsvangirai got 77%. Mugabe was willing to step down and allow the real winner to take over power. The ruling party ZANU-PF stopped Mugabe from stepping down. They called Thabo Mbeki, who was then president of South Africa, to sanitize Mugabe's defeat. Thabo Mbeki told the world that there was no clear winner. This resulted in a rerun which saw over 500 people die from political violence. Thabo Mbeki defended Mugabe and ZANU-PF from defeat into a government of national unity with the opposition. Had Thabo Mbeki used his influence and advised Mugabe to respect the will of the people as he had initially wanted to do, it is highly likely that there would have been a new government in Zimbabwe in 2008. In addition, the 500 lives lost would have been saved. Nelson Mandela would never have defeated Mugabe back into power. Archbishop Desmond Tutu often clashed with Mugabe over his leadership style in Zimbabwe. He hated the violation of human rights and rule of law. He would tell the government in Zimbabwe that they were not governing like a liberation party. The ZANU-fied ANC. The impact of stolen elections in Zimbabwe has pushed many Zimbabweans to cross the border into South Africa in search of greener pastures. The political heat is generated over immigration in South Africa is unprecedented. At times, people took the law into their own hands and attacked as well as killing foreigners. It seems ZANU-PF has so much influence over the ANC as a fellow liberation party. President Ramaphosa has been defending the ZANU-PF government on the global stage. He does not believe that stolen elections and corruption are to blame for Zimbabwe's problems. He is of the view that it's sanctions on Zimbabwe that are causing the people of Zimbabwe to cross into his country. This is a classical ZANU-PF strategy: shift blame and avoid accountability. When one looks at ANC, it is looking more like a ZANU-PF with each day. No one expected the South African police to be deployed on the mining workers who were demonstrating for workers' rights in Marikana. 34 of those workers were killed by the police. It brought back memories of apartheid massacres, and the difference this time is it was black police officers shooting at black workers on strike. This was effectively a black government showing a total disregard for its people. Many people died during apartheid for the right to demonstrate. When Zimbabweans demonstrated against stolen elections in 2018, ZANU-PF deployed the army. 8 unarmed civilians were shot and killed in broad daylight. A commission of inquiry made recommendation that the ZANU-PF government ignored. In the August 2023 elections, observers from all over the world were of the view that the elections were so flawed and that no election took place. The SADC report, which South Africa is part of, said the election cannot be used to give a governing mandate. Only 3 heads of state attended the inauguration of President MNANGAGWA on results deemed by the world to be flawed, and President Ramaphosa was one of them. In light of these inclusive reports by credible observers, President Ramaphosa appeared to be undermining the SADC report in favor of Emmerson Mnangagwa, who conducted the worst election in the history of Zimbabwe. Some polling stations did not even open. There was voter suppression on an industrial scale. It seems ZANU-PF and ANC are joined at the hip. Only CYRIL Ramaphosa is prepared to defend ZANU-PF and Emmerson Mnangagwa on the global stage. Some South Africans have been saying, in quotes, "Don't blame our leaders for your problems." They were telling Zimbabweans to fix their problems. They have a point, but it does not help when South African presidents defend defeated Zimbabwean presidents back into power. It happened with Thabo Mbeki in 2008, and it's happening with Cyril Ramaphosa in 2023. The ZANU-PF-ANC coalition is having a devastating impact on Zimbabweans. This week, Cyril Ramaphosa spoke at the United Nations General Assembly. He said sanctions are causing untold suffering on ordinary Zimbabweans and having a negative impact on neighboring countries like South Africa. Hours later, Mnangagwa said Zimbabwe is the fastest growing economy in the Southern African region. He went on to say Zimbabwe will become a net exporter of wheat. Both Cyril Ramaphosa and Emmerson Mnangagwa are being economical with the truth. Their conflicting statements over the same matter shows they are not concerned about addressing the root cause of problems in Zimbabwe. Intentionally pushing the wrong narratives shows how dishonest they are. In August 2022, Dr. Pofi Ramatuba went viral after telling a Zimbabwean patient in a South African hospital that the Zimbabwean president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, does not contribute to South Africa's health budget and that her country's health system is not a charity. Initially, Cyril Ramaphosa said the doctor had raised serious and valid issues that should be discussed at regional level. Ramaphosa was implying that SADC countries should discuss the impact of Zimbabweans in the region. There are so many Zimbabweans all over the region due to economic challenges in Zimbabwe and made worse by a dysfunctional government. Before long, Ramaphosa changed his position from taking the matter to the regional body to blaming sanctions. He essentially changed from blaming the government of Zimbabwe for the impact of the Zimbabweans in his country to blaming sanctions. This line of thought allies with ZANU-PF and confirms again that they are joined at the hip. ZANU won't take responsibility for its mess, and it lies on people like CYRIL Ramaphosa to defend them on the global stage. ZANU-ANC scandals. ANC and ZANU-PF under Ramaphosa and MNANGAGWA respectively have been involved in scandals that should have ideally forced them to step down. The gold mafia investigations by Al Jazeera established that MNANGAGWA is the godfather of criminal syndicate smuggling gold out of Zimbabwe to Dubai. In a normal country, no politician remains in power after such a discovery. No politician should profit from criminal acts. However, in Zimbabwe, MNANGAGWA captured all the state institutions and disabled the constitution so that he could not be held accountable. In South Africa, there is the Phala Phala scandal, which saw a former spy chief report to the police that Ramaphosa concealed a crime from authorities. Criminals had stolen part of $5 million USD that was at Ramaphosa farm Phala Phala. Such an amount would raise questions about money laundering and tax issues and whether it was declared properly. A presidential guard was instructed to track the money instead of going through the normal criminal reporting channels. Some people were paid off for their silence. No one knows how Ramaphosa survived Phala Phala like how MNANGAGWA survived the gold mafia. Ramaphosa and MNANGAGWA are cut from the same cloth. Their political parties were founded on clear ideology, but the current leaders are flexible on their values and philosophy. Conclusion. The way Thabo Mbeki and CYRIL Ramaphosa were used by ZANU-PF to deny Zimbabweans the right to choose their government is a disgrace. It is completely out of order. They obviously subscribe to a different philosophy to Nelson Mandela, Chris Hani, and Steve Biko. Zimbabweans cannot fathom how ANC leaders are supporting and defending the oppressors in Zimbabwe, but the same leaders are running around the world trying to resolve the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. It comes across as opportunistic and selective in how they discharge their obligations. They preach Pan-Africanism and Ubuntu, but in practice, they lack substance. How does CYRIL Ramaphosa balance pursuing peace between Russia and Ukraine and defending a defeated government back into power in Zimbabwe? Africa has enough challenges as it is, and it does not need its leaders to contribute to the already existing problems. It needs serious and sober leaders who respect their own people. This was Max Lyon on his X account yesterday. And like always, people were reacting as someone said, "What a great piece, say I enjoyed reading our recent history. My son, you're a star. It pains me to read that we were denied our freedom in 2008. That part only made me cry. Yes, Changirai won, and same like 2023 Chamisa won. How do these SADC leaders sleep at night knowing all these causes are suffering? ZANU-PF is bribing them with gold, I'm sure." These were people reacting to Max Lyon's post. Let's get to hear what you think about this post, about all these messages that ZANU-PF and ANC are teaming up so as to oppress Zimbabweans. Let's get to hear what you think about all this drama.